Let me start by saying if you haven't watched on Her Majesty's Secret Service, you need to. Also, there will be spoilers. It's hard to say at this point in the franchise whether Daniel Craig's movies are a reboot or a completely different universe. But, if they are a reboot, we should expect that the Tracy storyline from OHMSS will be returning to the theaters at some point. I wanted to give my ideas for a remake of my favorite James Bond film. I also wanted to talk a little bit about why it wasn't as popular as it could have been, even though it has been widely acclaimed since its release and is often considered one of the best films in the series. Here's my take on why it wasn't as popular as it could have been the first time. This was the first film to feature a Bond other than Connery. Obviously, audiences loved Connery as they filled the theaters for his previous 5 films. Now that the series has starred 6 actors as James Bond over 50+ years, we are more accepting of new Bonds. But at the time, it must have been shocking. And on top of it, Connery's replacement had no acting experience in a major motion picture and was known mostly for his appearance in a chocolate commercial. Although I really enjoyed Lazenby as Bond, numerous reviews complain about the quality of his acting, saying that he wasn't a convincing 007. So not only did they replace the beloved Connery, but his replacement failed to meet the audience's expectations. Other viewers were disappointed in the ending of the movie for various reasons. At the time, there was a large anti-violence movement sparked by the recent assassinations of MLK Jr. and Senator Bobby Kennedy, in addition to outrage over the Vietnam War. So Tracy's somewhat violent death could have been upsetting to sensitive audience members. Others wanted Tracy to live, with some critics saying that they liked Diana Riggs more than Lazenby. Of course, there were also people who said the marriage was too short to leave a true emotional impact. Regardless of minor criticism, I do believe this is the greatest film in the series. Many fans think that no Bond movie should ever be remade, but if there is an exception, it has to be on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Here are some of my remake ideas. Ideally, the remake would be Bond 25. This isn't because I feel like this is the perfect time for an OHMSS remake, but rather because of the actors I want to play the roles. In general, I hope Daniel Craig sticks around for Bond 25. And Daniel Craig would be perfect in a remake. He draws a large audience to the theaters each time, which will enable more people to become fans. But more importantly, he brings depth to the role which many have compared to the depth of Bond in OHMSS. Then, Christoph Waltz would star as Blofeld because he's a badass and he has already signed his contract for upcoming films. I also think with his development in Spectre, they could create a more compelling story between Bond and Blofeld in the beginning of the film. This would address the complaint that prior to Tracy's death the conflict between Blofeld and Bond was boring and weird, with Blofeld's clinic and his angels of death. While I was entertained by their conflict, I think that with Christoph Waltz as Blofeld, they would be able to portray the right amount of tension between the characters. Now moving on to my favorite Bond girl, Tracy. First let's talk about some changes to her character. Bond should not hit Tracy. We have moved away from this in movies, but it still needs to be mentioned. Tracy's character needs a little more screen time. There are many critics who say the original movie doesn't fully show them falling in love, except for the montage. Vesper had more screen time, so it seems reasonable that a remake would give Tracy this time. They could use this time to fully develop their relationship, make their love more convincing, and her death even more powerful. I still think they should keep her death in this movie because I feel that is a critical part of Bond's character. Now for actresses that could portray Tracy. The actress could be blonde, like she is in the book, or could be brunette like the first movie. An obvious first choice for Tracy would be a time-traveling Diana Riggs. She was amazing the first time and brought the entire movie to life. But since we can't have her, let's talk about some alternatives, in no particular order. Amy Teegarden, best known for her role as Julie Taylor in Friday Night Lights, would make a great Tracy. Her acting abilities are versatile, which would enable her to portray Tracy's complex character, especially her vulnerability. However, Daniel Craig and Amy Teegarden may not be the best match due to her young age and appearance. I don't really want to recreate the awkwardness that was Roger Moore in A View to a Kill. My next potential Tracy is Natalie Dormer. Not only does she have an impressive resume with shows like Game of Thrones and The Tudors, but she looks a lot like Diana Riggs. So in a way, this would be an appreciated nod to the original movie. She and Daniel Craig would work well together, given both of their great abilities, and they are a better match and age as well. Lastly, I think Catherine Winnick is a great contender. She also has a very impressive resume, and currently portrays a total badass in the TV show Vikings. One of Tracy's best qualities is that she is Bond's equal, and I could imagine Catherine Winnick kicking ass right along Bond. She's also stunningly beautiful and the right age to play the best Bond girl in history. Another change I would make to the storyline is to have Bond sleep with less women, especially after he becomes involved with Tracy. Many people have criticized how this undermined his relationship and showed that he was not very committed to Tracy in the original movie. Lastly, I would keep the original soundtrack. It's perfect. Maybe they should do a duet for We Have All the Time in the World with a modern popular artist. Maybe not. So these are my ideas for an OHMSS remake. I know many people are totally against the idea of this amazing movie being remade, but honestly, I would be the first in line to see it. I want to know what you think. Is there a Bond movie that you want to see remade? Who would you have fill each role in OHMSS? Leave a comment below and let me know.